I have some family in Kenya and have traveled there a lot, and over the years seen a lot of good grassroots conservation work going on over there. And this organization just really impressed me as a model of the way that community conservation work can succeed in Africa.
And what are you hoping to accomplish here tonight? What is this all about?
Well, the board, we created a U.S. Arm of this Kenyan trust, and I'm the head of that board, and we hold we hold one West Coast and one East Coast fundraising dinner each year, and basically we raise the bulk of the operating funds for this Kenyan conservation organization each year.
How does it feel to have all of your friends out here tonight supporting this cause?
Oh, it's really fun. It's really fun. And different people come every year. It's fun. We try to invite new people in each year because I think we found that once people get engaged with it, they support it at some level over time, and so we try to bring in new people each year. But it's fun. It's a lot of times you get together with people around movies or something, and it's one thing. This is I like. Gathering where you get a chance to inform people about great work that people are doing that gets less attention.
Absolutely. And do you think that this is sort of a general broad question, but do you think this is really issues of the environment, climate, and sustainable living? Is this really the issue of our time?
I definitely think so. I think that's a good way of putting it. That I think for my generation, we've pretty clearly identified that the great challenge of our generation is going to be sustainability, climate change. And looming environmental crisis. I think that almost certainly in 1,000, 2,000 years, people will look back and say that was what we confronted in this moment, and our legacy will be very much, I think, whether we confronted it successfully or not. So I think that things that used to seem like very distant issues, things in Africa, things in China or Indonesia, seemed like, well, what does that really have to do with me? I think more and more a new generation of people is starting to recognize that nature doesn't really recognize those distances. We're all very intimately connected. What happens in places like Africa and Indonesia is going to affect us very directly, and there's no longer sort of the room for sort of apathy about what's happening in distant places.
I need to ask you, let's see, about this Dewars signature book. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, because we're going to shoot it?
Sure, yeah. Well, Dewars terrifically offered to sponsor these events and underwrite the costs of these events so that everything raised actually goes to the organization. Which is incredibly generous, and they gave us this book because their new Scotch is called the Signature brand, and it's a very wonderful high-end Scotch. But they asked us to get people to sign the book, and people of note in all kinds of fields, artists and writers and captains of industry, and they're. So it's an interesting, eclectic bunch of people, and they're giving $100 for every signature that we collect to the trust. So it's very generous.
Off the top of your head, do you know any names you could tell us that have signed the book?
Lots of people have signed. Let's see, Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, a lot of the Apatow crowd. Let's see, my friend Praz from the Fugees is here tonight, so we'll get him in there. Now you're catching me because I don't know everybody, but lots of good people.
I know, it's hard. And I just have one last question for you. Just in reading about you, first of all, I'm so impressed with you just as an actor and as a human being, but I'm wondering, where does this come from, your need to give back, and you're so aware of everything that's going on?
Well, I think you kind of inherit what you're exposed to. I've been lucky enough to be exposed to people in my family who are doing work in this field, and I don't know. It makes sense to me. These are places I like to go. I like to dive and hike and stuff like that. So it's a set of issues I think I understand and encounter in my own life. So it's easier to feel like you actually know something about it or can learn something about it.
And then really quickly, a little self-promotion. What's coming up for you next? What project?
Nothing immediate. A little film called Leaves of Grass, but that'll be well into next year.
Perfect. And anything else you'd like to say about the fund or anything that?
No, you can check it out on the website. You can Google the Maasai Wilderness Conservation Trust, and if you haven't been to Kenya, come and check it out.